If you're looking for a printer that actually lets you crank out shirts day after day without constantly stopping to troubleshoot, you're probably wondering whether the hype around these industrial-grade DTF machines is real. You want something reliable, easy to live with, and worth the money, not just a glossy spec sheet that sounds impressive on paper. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The big question most of us face before dropping a few $1,000s on a piece of equipment is, will it fit into my workflow, and will it actually deliver the volume I need without turning my studio into a headache? I've spent the last several weeks talking to shop owners, scrolling through forum threads, and watching a handful of YouTube walkthroughs of the Procolored F13 Pro. What keeps popping up is the same tension between speed and complexity. In the DTF world, speed is only valuable if the rest of the process pretreatment, powder application, curing can keep up. The F13 Pro promises a dual-head XP600 setup that effectively doubles the output compared to a single-head machine. In real terms, that means you can go from printing 30 shirts in an hour to roughly 60, assuming the rest of your line can handle the flow. For a shop that already has a hot press and a powder shaker in place, that jump is a game changer. For a solo creator who prints on weekends, the extra speed might end up as idle time waiting for the pretreatment station to finish its cycle. The first thing most buyers notice is the size. The F13 Pro is built on an A3 Plus format, which is great if you need to cover larger designs or multiple panels in one pass, but it also means you need a dedicated corner of your studio. The footprint is roughly the size of a small desk plus a printer, plus a little extra for the ink tanks and the cooling system. If you're working out of a garage or a tiny rental space, you'll have to measure twice. On the other hand, for a commercial apparel shop that already dedicates a room to production, the footprint feels appropriate for the volume the machine is designed to handle. One of the selling points that keeps the F13 Pro on people's radar is the claim of a 50,000-inch stable run with its professional Gen 2 Siphon system. In plain language, that translates to a long stretch of continuous printing before you have to worry about clogs or head degradation. In practice, users who printed daily for weeks reported that they could go through a full day's batch without having to pause for a head cleanout. That reliability is a massive productivity boost because the alternative stopping every few hours to clean the printheads eats into profit margins quickly. It also means you can schedule larger orders with confidence that the printer won't suddenly hiccup halfway through a run. Color saturation is another area where the F13 Pro tries to differentiate itself. With a 12-channel ink configuration, you get deeper blacks and brighter primaries than many entry-level DTF machines that only use 8 channels. The result is a richer, more vibrant print that holds up under the harsh lighting of a retail display. For brands that market their designs as premium or vivid, that extra punch can be the deciding factor when a client compares a mock-up to a physical sample. Now, let's talk about the hidden trade-offs that don't get shouted out in marketing copy. First, the ink cost. High-volume DTF ink isn't cheap, and the F13 Pro's larger printhead means you'll be using more ink per square meter than a smaller unit. If you're pricing your shirts at a modest $20-25 margin, you need to factor that ongoing expense into your cost sheet. Second, the learning curve. The machine itself is straightforward: load the roll, feed the pretreatment film, start the print, but the surrounding workflow can be a stumbling block. You need a reliable pretreatment line that can keep pace, a powder shaker that evenly distributes the adhesive powder, and a curing oven that reaches the right temperature without scorching the fabric. If any of those steps lags, the speed advantage of the dual-head printhead is wasted. Maintenance is another practical concern. The F13 Pro's dual heads mean twice the number of nozzles to keep clean, and while the siphon system reduces the chance of air bubbles, you still have to run regular cleaning cycles. The machine does come with a warranty that covers the heads for a certain period, but the fine print usually requires you to follow a strict maintenance schedule, or you risk voiding that coverage. For a shop that already has a maintenance routine for a screen printer or a sublimation printer, integrating the DTF routine isn't a huge leap. For a newcomer, it adds a layer of responsibility that can feel overwhelming. Who should consider buying the Procolored F13 Pro? If you're running a dedicated apparel printing business that processes 200+ shirts per week, need to keep up with rush orders, and already have a pretreatment and curing setup, The speed and color depth of this printer can directly translate into higher throughput and